This is, I feel, a big mistake a lot of students do. They're like, they just want to get money. What in turn happens because of this is they're too busy, working, making the extra money, and not being able to focus. I know so many people who failed the exams because of this, and now they're deported back to India.
So, how do you think? Is it like completely different what they dream of and how it comes? Like everything would be very nice with the parties and study.
What you said, 50% of that could be true to a certain extent, but may or may not apply for everyone. Nobody in the university would even tell you to study or expect you. Unlike in India, where your professors would be after your life. So nobody is actually spoon-fed over here. It's totally different life. If you can't, don't come to Germany.
Okay.
If you can't cook, don't come. Because trust me, you're going to get super sick. Something's going to happen to you and it won't be good for you in the long run. Or learn to at least do something.
Hello everyone, welcome again. Welcome to our new episode of Experts Talk with Himansha. So in today's episode, we are going to deep dive about the student life in Germany. I know there are many students around the world who want to come and study in abroad and the places like Germany. So today we will tell you how to enroll in the universities in Germany, or if you are someone who are willing to study, what all things you should know. For this, we have our very special guest, Aryan, who has worked as a president in one of the student bodies in Germany for one of the famous universities. So I would request you to stay tuned and subscribe to our channel for getting more information. Thank you. Welcome, Aryan. Welcome to our podcast. We are lucky to have you today. And would you like to introduce yourself?
Sure. My name is Aryan Bajaj. I'm currently studying business and engineering in Technische Hochschule Würzburg-Schweinfurt. And I've also had the opportunity to be very active in the student body and politics. Apart from that, I've also been working on my startup and other projects that I've been doing. And currently I'm actively building my community called Campus Christ. You can find all that information in comments or in the socials, in the bio, for sure.
Thank you. Thank you so much for your detailed introduction. I think there are a lot of students around who would like to know more about the student life in Germany. So just to give you an idea, in this podcast, we want to cover, like there are many students around the world who want to come and study abroad. So Germany can one of the country where they want to come and study. So what are the ways to come, or what are the challenges they face? So we are going to touch upon those topics. So maybe just to start with, say someone wants to come and study in abroad. So what are the prerequisites? Is it something like they should basically, like this many years of study they should do, or how is it?
So it kind of entirely depends on if you're coming from bachelor's or master's, and they might have different processes and let's say other channels and options. For example, in masters, if you're there, you generally would have Uni-Assist, go through your documents, apply to different universities, standard procedure. In bachelor's, on the other hand, there are certain universities with certain programs and MOUs, which makes it way simpler. So for example, I was actually studying in this university in Bangalore called RV College of Engineering. And they had this special program where basically 1 year of studying in their university is considered a student colleague. For those of you who do not know what student colleague is, basically, as in India, we have a 12-year education system. Germany has 13 years. And to really fulfill that 1 year criteria, you either study 1 year in Germany as student colleague, or you study in a university in Germany. So basically, that can be counted as your 1 extra year.
Okay, so if I understand right, then a student should have 13 years of education completed to get either into master's or graduation in Germany.
No, this is more specifically for bachelors.
This is for bachelors.
This is for bachelors. So if you want to do masters, then you need to have a bachelor's degree in that case.
Bachelor's degree as well.
And maybe in certain cases work experience. So certain institutions require you to have 2 years of work experience. But usually when you have some, it's always good to.
Okay, and you mentioned something about Uni-Assist. Maybe can you elaborate? Was it?
So I didn't have to really apply through Uni-Assist directly, but basically it's an organization that processes your documents. So your transcripts, your records, and admissions, and all the formality related stuff, they are dealing with that. For me, the good thing was because of my special program, I directly could go to TH. That's my university, which was FH at the time. So you just apply, they have a certain understanding. Basically, they recognize that studying 1 year there is valid. So
Okay.
that can directly be used. Whereas normally what you'll have to do is you'll have to apply to different universities and then maybe have a student colleague in Germany. Some people go to this place called BIC in Berlin. It's very popular. I have a lot of my friends studying over there who study 1 year over there. For me, it was relatively cheaper. So I think this can also be a really good option, especially if you want to be more economical or
Okay.
in that regard.
Okay.
Or you could just do a normal bachelor's of 1 year in university in India.
Okay, and maybe like just an idea, is the graduation or post graduation what students are looking for? Is it like paid or is it free in Germany?
So the public universities by far generally have free education.
Okay.
Up until this year, some universities have changed the rules a bit. So for example, TU Munich is now charging students tuition fees. I'm not sure about the number, it's around 2 to 3,000 euros or something per semester, which initially was free.
Okay.
And also, if let's say you're a student who studied bachelor's in Germany, then you don't have to pay because since it's a relatively newer rule. But this is mostly to have more quality of students and kind of filter it because this was actually a big topic in Bachelor also, like I told you, which is the Student Council for Bavaria, and we also had this discussion as in if non-EU students should pay because of the economic crisis in Germany and other reasons. These things are coming back. But
Okay.
initially, it was totally free for everyone.
So, is there like any website or somewhere where students can find this information that which universities are still providing the free education or which are charging a tuition fee?
So, like I said before, all the public universities, you have either private universities or public universities. Private universities, just like every other country, they charge a lot of money. They're fancy schools. Public university would be anything with the name TH or FH or like University of Heidelberg or University Würzburg, stuff like that. So they are more like public universities. So most of these universities do give you education for free.
Okay.
Especially for Germans and Europeans, it's totally free.
Okay.
But for internationals, yes. Certain universities you have to check. Like, for example, all the popular universities these days, they're mostly charging fees because of high rate of application and high number of applicants.
Okay.
So in order to discourage, they also kind of increase the application fee now. So that those are also some of the things.
Okay. And like I am aware of some websites in India, say shiksha.com and many other. Are there any specific websites which student can go and find their relative courses? And are like courses different that what they study in India or any other country, and when they come to Germany, is it something similar ground they will find it, or is it completely different?
So one website that you could definitely refer, that's also by the German government, is DAD, pronounces like DAAD. So there you can definitely look for different universities. I'm not entirely sure if it tells you if it's free education or not, because even at my university, certain courses you have to pay. For example, if you're doing MBA at master's program, that is a fully paid program. And this completely varies from university to university and module to module, depending on what you're studying, what is the nature of the course, totally depends on that. So, but like I said, so the list of public universities you can definitely find on that.
Okay, that's good to know. I think our viewers will get help from it, like where to find the colleges for them. And then, are there like what I asked, like, are the courses different or is it same? Say someone has done his 12th in science, and usually the options we know is for more of engineering or non-medical options. So is there a change in the course? How is it named here, or is it the same?
Sure. So this is something very interesting, more like expectation versus reality. So most of the courses you find in India are more fundamental based. For example, you'll find mechanical engineering, you would find civil engineering, computer science. Those things do exist here, but mostly with combinations. So as we're evolving, you would tend to notice there was this, especially when I came here, there was this very booming course called mechatronics. So this is about combining mechanical engineering, electrical engineering, and also computer engineering, telecommunications and stuff like that. So this
Does that mean you have to study more?
Of course.
Okay.
A lot. I thought it's more like an Iron Man kind of feel, like, you're going to build a whole robot, but you still have to put in a lot of effort.
Okay.
Like, especially for technical courses, personal experiences, you have to at least be PhD level to really make something. So that's also something you have to be very real about. You're not going to make your first robot first crazy robot, let's say, in your bachelor's. You could definitely be capable of doing that. Of course, there are a lot of opportunities, there are a lot of competitions, and universities in general promote a lot of this culture for students to take initiative for projects. But
Okay.
totally depends.
Totally depends. So there is not one-to-one
Yeah.
match, but there is something similar on what you are interested in. So
course.
someone has to go and deep dive and start and actually find the course what they want to do.
Like I said, so that is there. And also, the good thing about Germany is, I can give you an example from a friend of mine. She's studying in Munich. She's studying, or her project, or her master's actually, is all about bird noises, for example. Now, for a random person, you'll be like, what is this? Bird noises. But it's basically a part of biotech engineering where they're analyzing frequencies and vibrations and noises and how birds react. So, if you're someone studying in India, you can't even think that such a course would exist, because it stems from a real need. So based off that, actually, currently in Germany, there are many other courses. For example, hydrogen technology. That is another very booming course, especially given the EV revolution and what's going on. Hydrogen could be the next big fuel. So that's something I would not even
Correct.
think of studying in India. Whereas, you're always into programming and computers and things like that. So
Okay, I would not say so. In India also now we have a lot of different
Sure.
courses and stream, which might be like emerging now with the generation gap. But this is really good to know that there are a lot of different branches and things exist in Germany if someone wants like a specific interest and they can do. So from this, I just think like say someone who don't know what course they have to do. Right. So, is there a kind of consulting or a help provided so that the student can identify, okay, this course suits him or her the best?
I can't say this exactly for everyone, but a lot of German universities require something called as pre-study internship. I would say this could be a good opportunity for something like that. In Germany, also call it Ausbildung. It's more like you have a trial kind of work. So, for example, when I came here, I had to do certain, let's say, workshop hours, or I need to have an internship that I have to work in a, let's say, mechanical field or something. Or I have to kind of do soldering, learn some skills. So I think that could be something to gain some hands experience, or just check your interest to get into it. That's definitely one thing. But as to say, if you say German culture is very different than Indian culture of universities. So in German culture, mostly you would find people who are 22 to 23 who enter university at that age. Whereas in India, people enter at 18. So it's mostly like in India, you are told by family and other people, okay, this is the field you need to approach. Whereas in Germany, people first work, they gain some experience, they travel.
Right after the school.
Yeah, they travel, they
Okay.
work, they do some small internships or Ausbildung, so to say.
Okay.
And then they make a decision what they want to study. So I think that's the biggest difference. Like, because in Germany, it's especially like in my university, it's a very applied based university. And that totally varies from university to university. For example, if you're in a uni, that will be more theoretical knowledge, less of
Okay.
application. So it really depends what your kick is, basically, or what is your interest and inclination. Totally.
I think this is good to know that, because I knew only about masters that you need a certain year of work experience to go for masters to understand the process better. But it is good to know that it also exists for graduation, and it will also give students a chance to come and feel the environment and then study.
Sure.
Right.
One point I forgot to mention, if you're studying bachelor's in Germany, there's generally a requisite of 2.5 GPA. That would be
Okay.
something important for students also to know. So what it means is you need to, so US and other countries, you have a GPA from 1 to 5, where 5 is the best, 1 is the worst. Here it's all the opposite. 1 is the best, 5 is the worst. And 4 is just pass or average.
Okay. And how one can calculate this?
There is generally a formula.
Okay.
There's something called as SPO. It refers to examination guidelines, or how the degree or the university works. What you can do is you can go to every university's page, whichever you're interested in. You can search for the SPO, the handbooks. Especially for my universities, I can say for sure, like Technische Hochschule, Würzburg-Schweinfurt, THWS. We have, let's say, handbooks for every course. So you just type the
Okay.
university name, course name, and handbook. They'll give you the whole document that covers each and every course. So that could be the closest thing to probably what you said, to just have an
Okay.
idea of what is
Correct.
possible. But yeah, sadly, apart from that, there's not much resources.
Okay. This is also good to know. So now what I know, like fun, who wants to study, they can find the courses on DAAD, like which courses they are interested. They can also go and deep dive what all different kind of variety courses are there. They can calculate how you pronounce it, GCA, right? How what should be calculated?
GPA.
GPA.
Yeah.
So GPA should be calculated.
Grade point average.
Correct. And then what else one should know before applying to university? Is it like some criteria for visa or kind of money you need for your stay or any other certifications or exams which they need to take before applying to any university?
So let's go step by step. Assuming you're a student who just finished your 12th standard.
Okay.
So first thing you need to have is a requirement is of the 13th, or let's say the student colleague. Either you can do student colleague or this 1 year extra that we talked about in Germany, or you could do this in India. I did this in India with the university I mentioned, RV, but also other universities have similar tie-ups. For example, I know in India there's this university called Manipal. They also have a certain program where you can study here and then shift to Germany. And some other universities also provide similar courses.
Okay.
But you don't need to really take those. You could just do first year Bachelors of Engineering and then apply in a German university once you have admission, transfer your credits or use these things to kind of validate it. So that's also an alternative. So that's the first step you need.
Okay.
Once you have this, then you can talk about admissions. So your 13th requirement is complete, you're done, ready. You apply. You apply to a university for your admission. They check your transcript records, 12th grades, everything, motivation letter, formalities that they have. And the best would be to check their own guidelines or their own student service. So in our university, we call them HSST, like Hochschulservicestudium. They are the one point contact for every information, whether it's during the studies, whether it's before the studies or after the studies.
Okay.
So unlike other countries in India or something, you have to, look for a person or something. In this case, you can just write to the student service for every university, the dedicated department for this. So they can help you with every document you need. Just feel free to write them an email. They're very helpful. They're very friendly. And that can be definitely something I would say you should have as a main source. Because the mistake can be, I might give you an advice for my university, but might not be applicable for yours. And every university has different criteria. For example, at my university, if you're studying business engineering or mechatronics, you don't need any specific exams. But whereas you write, for example, robotics or something, then there's another exam or certification you need called Test AS.
Okay.
So it also depends on what kind of course are you studying.
Course you are opting for.
Exactly. So robotics being more technical, demanding more programming and basic understanding of physics and other topics. So they just see, okay, if you pass those criterias.
Okay.
Because, that's something for them, very important, I would say. But apart from this, if you move forward, okay, once you have your admit letter, you can go towards your next visa application. So generally for visa, you would need a block account, Sperrkonto. That's something we call it. At the moment, the amount is around 900 euros per month. That accounts for around 11,000 euros approximately. And this is something that you are supposed to do it before you come here. So it's like a guarantee of your survival, in simple words.
Okay.
You need to spend, you're going to eat, you're going to travel, you need money. And this is a minimum requirement the German government says, okay, if you don't have the money, you can't come here and do stuff. But if you have the money, it makes your visa process way more easier.
Okay.
And earlier, this was a different rule. Earlier, you didn't need a block account for subsequent months. But now it's a mandatory requirement that you need to have it every year. Because a lot of students try to mess up, taking money from friends, showing the account balance and getting a visa. Okay. But now it's very strict.
I think inflation is also impacting
That's
this.
True.
So it's must needed for students because you don't know how the circumstances around the world. Okay, this is also good to know that one should have a block account. And this is something for the survival of students. So this is different from the tuition fee,
and this is minimum
in case
requirement.
It is applicable.
Most of the universities don't have tuition fees, public universities.
Correct.
But people also see it in a very this way that education is totally free. No, only your tuition fee is free. But there's still something called as registration or let's say other charges that you pay. Like I pay something called a Semestergebühr or semester fees, which includes your transport in the area, or it would also include your local other cards and registration or any kind of processing that is there. So I'm paying, I guess, around what, 100 or 20 or something,
Okay.
119, something like that. But depends. Some cities have it more, some cities have it less. And also certain regions also include your whole travel of the whole state in this. For example, if you're in NRW, you want to travel, you pay this fixed amount and you can travel all across the state. Whereas in Bayern, it's more like only for your city. So in Bavaria, if you pay this fees, your travel or allowance is only in that city, and then you have to have a separate ticket for that.
For the other,
Yeah.
okay. So I think you said, okay, one should know which course they want to apply. They can avail the services from each university homepage by emailing
It's
them.
totally free, just email them.
Correct. And then next is the block account and then the visa process. Is there anything else which is also needed while you are in visa process?
So generally, if you would check the website
Okay.
from the visa, they pretty much state all the basic requirements
Requirements. Okay.
that they have. Like I said, block account is there. Certain universities need you to have a German course. My university didn't really need me to provide it beforehand.
So
They
is
gave me
there
1 year.
also a language need or a language certificate?
That's what I'm talking about. So
Okay.
German language, yes, like I said. So my university had a requirement of me completing A2 level German
Okay.
up to 1 year of me starting my studies.
Okay, which you can do it here,
Yes.
or you want to
Totally
do it
depends.
before?
It totally depends. So if
Okay.
my course was in English, bachelor's,
Okay.
but if let's say you're someone studying in German, then you would need to
So this is also, I guess, a good question. So, like, how to find the English courses in Germany? Because this is when I think about, like, if it is a public university, then the first assumption comes to my mind that courses will be in German. So, are like public universities offering English courses for free?
very few.
Okay.
Very few. I can literally probably name them that at least I know. My university, THWS, they offer free public courses.
Okay.
Technische Hochschule Ingolstadt, I know they have a course in business engineering in English. Then there is Hochschule Rheinwald. I'm pretty sure they have mechanical engineering and mechatronics in English for sure. I'm not sure about other subjects, but these for sure are there.
Okay, so there are
Yeah,
courses, they might be limited to a number, but there are free courses offered by public university in English.
Yes.
Yes, this
I
is
mean,
also
now it's increasing more and
correct,
more.
because I think most of the students also think while going to Germany, France, or Spain that okay, either they have to pay a heavy tuition fee or the courses will be in their regional language. So usually those options are opt out. So this is good to know that they can still search
But you
for
still
those
need
courses.
German language though to
Correct.
survive.
So, but this is the government or the universities allow you to learn
Yeah, they allow you
along
to
with your
study.
course.
Yes.
Okay. And does it has an advantage if someone learn this language before coming to Germany?
So many advantages. I mean, language. Language is the way to go about it. You might have the worst grades, but if you're good with your language, you can get along with people, you'll have this smooth sailboat. So in Germany, there's this concept of vitamin B. That is, especially when you're applying for jobs or any kind of contacts or collaborations. People say this doesn't really happen and, it's all about application process, but references go a long way. So especially to really interact, to impress someone, for someone to really refer you, they need to be confident about you that you're going to do a good job. So that firstly comes with language, let's say.
Okay.
Especially if you want to go in big companies, BMW, Audi, and you want to network with those people, I think language plays a huge role because they really require this in day-to-day business.
Yes.
Their clients are Germans. Their customer service, their technicians, all these people are Germans. So if you're anyone in the engineering field, especially related to sales, marketing, or wherever they're interacting with people, everyone speaks German over here. Like English is okay, you could survive, but
I think this is more on a job perspective. I do understand, but as a student as well, if you know German, it's easy to interact. But most of the students come with the mindset that they will do a part-time job.
yeah, but even for that also.
Yes, you need language?
Like there are some jobs you can work without language, sure.
Okay.
But that's mostly you making burgers in a kitchen or you giving out newspapers. But that really doesn't add up to your CV. So the best kind of jobs, I would say, if anyone should at all target, is back student jobs. Because they bring value to your CV, they bring additional credential value, and they're mostly related to your field.
Okay.
And this is, I feel, a big mistake a lot of students do. They're like, they just want to get money What in turns happens because of this is they're too busy, working, making the extra money, and not being able to focus. I know so many people who failed the exams because of this, and now they're deported back to India. So this is also really not nice. And this is thing, like a lot of people selling, oh, if you get a job, you can do part-time jobs, this and that. That only works if you're well organized and disciplined. And if you want to get a good part-time job that you can really learn something and put through your life, you really need German.
Okay, so it's always a value add if you know the language prior.
I would say it's a
and-
must actually.
Okay.
Like value add, I don't want to, like misguide people in this. Sure, you can, if you're lucky, it could be a value add, but I would say it's the must, is the bare minimum.
It's the bare minimum.
Bare
At least
minimum.
you should be able to communicate. Otherwise, it's difficult to find a part-time job which can support you
Yes.
for your living.
Yes.
Okay. And like more on the living, do you like how much do you think an average amount a student need to survive?
Oof. Well, this depends on the city. So if you're in Munich, I think even 2,000 euros won't be enough
Okay.
because those cities are very expensive. But I think from personal experience, I think if you have a humble lifestyle, you having some outings also, you go once in a while, eating good food. I think 1,000 euros is a very safe zone.
1,000 euros is something.
As a student.
As a student.
Yes.
It also includes their transport, food,
Everything.
outings,
Everything. But
everything.
but I'm not saying
Okay.
it's very fun lifestyle. It's
Okay.
basic lifestyle.
Basic. At least one can survive.
Like, yeah, you can eat
Okay.
food, you have your stuff, you have your stationery, groceries, everything is there. I'm assuming you already have a place and you didn't have to buy furniture because that's a total different thing.
Okay.
A lot of students come here thinking, it's like, especially apartments and everything, then they have to buy everything. So that's totally different.
Okay. And since you have touched upon this topic, how does this accommodation work for students? Is it something like hostels, like how we have in India for universities, or it is more of a private accommodation they have to search for?
So there's different categories of it. Of course, like the overall thing is you have private, the WGs that we call Wohngemeinschaft. Basically, you live with 2-3 people, or you live with one person or something like that. You're shared, basically, we call it shared apartments. Or
Okay,
something.
but they are private, not offered by
Yeah, they're
university.
private landlords.
Okay.
You have to contact them. There are different portals like WG Gesucht and all where you can find them. The good thing about these places is that you can leave when you want. So you have a
Okay.
contract, there's certain requirements, you have to fulfill that, you can leave. On the other hand, there's these student dorms. So in some cases, they're really nice, like they're called Studentenwerk. But personal experience, I've seen in certain regions, they also kind of exploit students, especially international students. So what you could also find is international students paying way more than German students. So that way, I would say you can get a better deal, especially when it comes to money, maybe at private areas also.
Okay.
But
So are there like ways to find this accommodation?
sure. For example, let's say if you look for Studentenwerk, so it's more like a common brand that goes across Germany. Every city would have a Studentenwerk or a AWO. They are also giving accommodation for students. So there are some hostels actually, AWO and all, and even other organizations. I mean, every city has its own unique organization and vereins that are involved in these things. But if I talk about overarchingly, Studentenwerk is a very common one. You can just type the city and student work or student housing in that, and that should pretty much
Okay.
pop up all the options for you. Otherwise, what also happens is a lot of universities give this information in their webpage. So
Okay.
you could also find the local collaborators with them. For example, so student work is very much related with universities, at least my university in my city.
So the student work is something like your onboard buddy or student buddy, something like that, which will help you with all your onboardings. And
Not really. That is
Okay.
something different. So buddy program, what you said, that
Yes.
is in certain universities for certain courses.
Okay.
But what you refer to is basically it's a organization,
Okay.
more like into real estate, let's say. So they have big
Okay.
houses and rooms that they kind of sublet, have contracts, and
Okay,
they
and this
process
is
it.
different from the university.
Yes,
They are
it's an
the one who are
independent
just
organization, yeah.
providing some accommodation targeted to student audience.
But
Okay.
the funny thing is, they're the ones who would actually run your cafeteria in
Okay.
universities, and a lot of cases they also provide you with other additional facilities like student lawyers or other things,
Okay.
therapy sessions or whatever, therapists and things like that. So that's also something you can definitely find there. So they provide you, it's basically like a, let's say, community kind of thing for students to support them, whether be Germans or internationals. Because for German students, they have something called as BAföG. So they don't even pay their living expenses. So they get paid by the state for that, unlike us internationals.
Okay.
So they can pay it back later to them or something like that. So they are also involved with them in this aspect.
Okay, this is good to know. So, Aryan, like I know that many students have, dream to come and study abroad, and they have some kind of a different image build up. And maybe just to touch upon more on the reality of student life. So, how do you think? Is it like completely different what they dream of and how it comes? Like everything would be very nice with the parties and study, and it's a myth about like in foreign you have to study less compared to India. Is it like true?
I mean, I think what you said, 50% of that could be true to a certain extent, but may or may not apply for everyone.
Okay.
So what I'll go step by step on this. So firstly, you talked about student life, what do you do all day, time and stuff like that. So most of the time of your day is firstly spent in uni. The remaining part goes around cleaning, cooking, being a bai, stuff like that. So that is there. So you're doing everything. You're your own parent, your own
I
tax
feel
lawyer.
this one good. Everyone
Yeah.
would learn to do the household work.
You have to. If you can't, don't come to Germany.
Okay.
If you can't cook, don't come. Because trust me, you're gonna get super sick. Something's gonna happen to you, and it won't be good for you in the long run. Or learn to at least do something.
Okay.
I also was very lazy, would not do anything, still lazy to do laundry sometimes. So for all the spoiled kids out there, think again if you want to come to Germany. Because
Okay.
there is no person who's coming to clean your house because it's super expensive. You can have it, sure, but cost you around 100, 120 euros for one session. You probably don't want to pay that. And so you need to clean, you have to cook everything, you have to maintain, you have to do your taxes, you have to do everything on your own. If you're working also, if you want to do a part-time job, you can do it. I personally would not recommend anyone because it takes a lot from your studies. I would rather say, okay, take more exams and finish early. Because for a lot of students, this is a big question. Should they do part-time jobs? Should they not do? Because most of the students, the part-time job that you're working or doing or gaining experience, it's probably not related to your field of study. Unless and until you have a job or let's say working student jobs where where there's something more related to your course. That's something good for your growth. Sure, you could use it. But anything else is just used for money. And what in turn happens is, I have friends who are, for example, working, let's say, McDonald's or Burger King for like 8 hours or something. After that, they're tired. They don't have time to study. They can't focus. They're missing classes. Then they fail subjects, and a lot of students get deported or something. I've heard personally so many cases about these things.
Yeah, I think this would be a like a sad part around it, but I think most of the student come with the mindset that okay, they have to study less, and because the hours compared to India are less, what they have to study, and also here government allow you to work 4 hours per day, like 20 hours per week. So most of them has a mindset. Some do also have a need to do a part-time job. So what kind of like part-time jobs student get if they don't get one which is relevant to their course, because everyone might not be that lucky to immediately get it, or because of like different barriers, limited seats, languages and so on. So how to balance it, and also how to find those part-time jobs
Sure.
which in turn do not impact your studies.
So for this, the German government has done something really nice. So they have a rule that says, as a student, you're not allowed to have self-employment, and you can't run a business of freelancing.
Okay.
What you could do is you can work 140 half days, 140 full days, sorry, 140 full days in a year. And anything that you work after that is not allowed. So that's your limit by your visa when you come here in Germany as a student for you.
Okay.
So if you work under that, by law at least it's fine. But personally speaking, and experiences, like I said, you of course when you said language and all those things could be a barrier, but I would personally recommend still to improve your language, because that's actually the thing that you have to use in general if you're planning to stay in Germany. Because if you're someone who thinks you can't survive here without language, sorry, you're mistaken. Second thing you mentioned about you have to study less. That's totally wrong.
Okay.
No one expects you to study at all. There's no attendance. You can do what you want. You can come, leave when you want, not come at all. Certain classes may have attendance mandatory depending on the course modules that's mentioned already as a requirement. Or you need to have, let's say, certain projects that you're working on. They need team meetings, yes. In that case, you're expected to be there, to present, and because you evaluated based on those cases. But apart from that, nobody in the university would even tell you to study or expect you. Unlike in India, where your professors would be after your life. So nobody is actually spoon-fed over here. It's totally different life.
Okay.
Even when applying for internships or jobs, you're totally independent. They expect you to be an adult. They expect you that you are going to go out, do your own research, find out stuff. A big issue that I've seen personally, also being active in the student body, is a lot of students don't know what's happening in the university, what to do, what not to do. This is their job. And what's interesting for me in this is, in India, we used to have people guide you through every step. Okay,
Correct.
This is the exam, this is the registration, these are the labs, this is what you do. In Germany, there's no concept such as that. They were like, okay, we have a website, we have a handbook, we have uploaded everything. Now it's your job, you're an adult, you're not a kid anymore, you have to do this.
Okay.
And I think this is a big gap between...
Culture gap.
Yeah, cultural gap, especially between India and
Okay.
Germany as such. Because, in India, you're like, your professors are there, okay, you have to do this assignment, that assignment, this, midterms, and you have exams in between also. So you keep studying in between.
Correct.
That thing doesn't happen here. You have one exam at the end. Whether you come to class or not doesn't matter. You can study from YouTube, you can take tuitions, tutorials, what you want. That's totally
Okay.
fine. Don't study at all, still pass. That's
So
fine.
here also you have this concept of backlogs or something, like if
yeah.
you do not pass, can you give those exams later?
So, maximum of 3 attempts you have for every subject.
Okay.
If you fail the 3 attempts, then you're removed from the course and from the degree.
Okay.
And then you can't study that degree anywhere in Germany. That's also a rule.
Oh, okay.
So that's why I said, if you're planning
You have to be
Yeah.
really
Yeah.
serious about your
Like,
course.
I've seen so many videos on YouTube promoting this part-time job and all these consultancies kind of doing this. Let me tell you, they're doing this for their own business. They want more and more people to come, study. They tell them, okay, you're going to get rich, you're going to make part-time jobs in this. No, it's bare minimum. You can't survive on that, trust me. The best is if your family can support you and you can focus on studies. If you're in a very bad condition, if you're disciplined, you could do this. Working part-time jobs and doing it. But as things are getting expensive, it's just getting tougher and tougher.
Okay. So you need to be like really disciplined to do
Yeah.
the part-time
And
job and
serious.
studies together.
And serious.
Correct.
Like,
And as you mentioned, like everything has to be done your own and managing, whether it is semester registration, exam, and going and finding job. So how is the job thing works here? Because in India, for most of the universities, we have something called campus placement, that companies are coming and hiring you. Is it same here or no?
no, so we don't have a concept of campus placements.
Okay.
We do have campus fairs, or let's say job messe, we call it. Basically, it's a big fair where different companies come. They have the stalls. They talk about what they do, what are they into. If you have
Also
questions,
organized by universities or?
sometimes yes, a lot of
Okay.
times yes. This is something university organizes or something closest to placements. But there's
Okay.
nothing actually like placements. What
Okay.
happens is basically people from those companies or representatives come talking about their company or what are they about or what are they involved in. So if you have any questions, you can ask. After that, each one of them is probably going to direct you to the career website. And then you're again independent. So you have to apply, CV, cover letter, everything on your own.
Okay.
Nothing like spoon-fed. So a big difference between India and Germany is you really need to grow up.
Need to grow up.
Really need to grow up. I know so many people who did bachelors in India, come here
Yes.
for masters. They can't cook, they can't do anything in that aspect. And then you see the place is a mess. Or, like it's just after some time, 6 months, they're like, I can't survive here, I'm going back. And those are so many cases as well. So if you really plan to come here, let me tell you, it's not a joke. Especially with how world is going and how things in Germany are going, you need to really consider that if you're serious about this. If you're coming here for a part-time job, don't come here because you're going to get deported within 1 year. I can bet you that. I know countless people like that. And being in the student body, of course, you see these cases and people contact you personally. So I've been in first-hand witness to so many wild scenarios and cases.
Okay.
But like I said, you need to be really serious. You need to be focused from the very beginning. You need to research everything, top to bottom. If you're not serious, no one can do it for you.
Yeah.
And maybe some parents might watch this. Please just don't take this as a thing for your kids. I think every kid needs to grow up. So even if your kid is not, I mean, I was very careless, I could not take responsibilities earlier. But
It's
I
a
think,
good way of learning
yeah,
as
sure.
well.
I like the amount of learning experience I had just
Yes.
by coming to Germany. I think it's wonderful. It's an amazing country.
Correct.
Socially also, there's a lot to do. They have their own festivals and all,
Correct.
time to time. There's a lot of stuff.
I think it's more like how we say one saying that coin has two sides.
Yeah.
So it has a good side. It also
Yeah.
has a hardship associated to it. What I know, you need to be like really balanced, disciplined, and focused, like how you want to plan it.
Sure.
Your work. And listening to this, somehow that essence come to my mind that the overall schedule or a curriculum is quite quite engaging and full, and which is keeping you more busy. Is it something like which is cutting student from being social, or is it helping students to one side, like learning and managing your own stuff, to get socialized with other colleagues or students or the people around?
So this kind of depends based on where you are studying. So I'm studying in a very small city.
Okay.
Our social interactions in general are very less, ideally or normally. Of course, as part of the student body, we also organize different events, or it's actually a job to do that. So student body's purpose is just to take care of your social welfare, your student issues.
Okay.
So this is also something for other students. So if, let's say, you want to study a certain course in a given university and you don't know who to talk to, you can just write the student body. You can find their Instagram or something. You could also contact them. And the best part about this would be you would have a contact from that given university in a given course. And there's this thing called as Fakultetsrat. Basically, they're like the leaders of a particular faculty.
Okay.
And they know everything about their faculty, professors, teachers, courses. So if you're someone who's, let's say you found a university where you're interested to study, I would say talk to the student body. They
this
might
is like
connect you
a
with someone.
help
Yeah.
book for every student.
Yeah.
And I think this is in today's environment where there are single kids not having more siblings, or you also lose your friends because you are moving abroad and most of them are in your home country. It's good to get associated and
With something.
and stay social, right?
But I mean, in general, also for people who are applying, also, if you have questions regarding application process or accommodation, this could also be for them.
Also for them.
Yeah,
so
so-
not only after you are enrolled in the university, but they also help
During
when you
the-
are willing to come.
Yeah.
Okay.
For sure. Like any questions here, because the whole purpose is, so they also have an international office. A lot of universities do have that, especially if they have a lot of international students. The whole job is literally to answer every query you have.
Okay.
And why I mentioned being connected with student body and all is because they're most like the central entity at a university for students.
Okay.
So, in India, what happens is, if you have an issue, you have to go to your professor, or you speak to someone, or like that. If you in Germany have an issue, you have to go to the student body or your Fachschaft, and they are the ones actually by law who can process those requests in a legal manner.
Okay.
A lot of students don't know that.
Yes. I
Even
think-
if you-
And how to find these bodies who can help student?
So in German, the word is called Studentenvertretung, like
Okay.
student representation.
Okay.
So if you type this word Studentenvertretung or representation and put the university name, you pretty much should find it.
Okay. And it exists for almost all
Every
university.
university has it.
Okay.
Every university has
Okay.
it.
I think this is good for audience to know who wants some help and more deep dive into
Yeah.
how the things would be later.
You could even see your social events actually. So
Correct.
every student body has their Instagram. They talk about the social activities, extras, curriculars, things like that. You can get involved in that.
I think this is a good topic to let know. I think many students who are already studying might also be interested to know how to get socialized and how to find a community where you feel like belong. And it's good to know. So maybe we can talk to on this topic in detail in our next episode.
We'll definitely do that.
Okay. So thank you, Aryan, for
Thank you.
being here and providing us so meaningful insights. I think this would help many students who are willing to come to Germany or who are already here to, get the first essence of how the student life is. Thank you so much.
Thanks again for your time and for all the questions. Like I said, if you have any questions that is something more specific to a situation, feel free to write me. Maybe I could be of any help.
Thank
Thank you
you.
again.